Welcome, my curious companions. Tonight, the cosmos has something to whisper to you. We're going to drift through it, gently, unhurriedly, through the real science of why this spinning world beneath you never stops moving. You will sink into deep, restful sleep. And somewhere along the way, the vast spiral you are already tracing through space will feel surprisingly close and calm. Settle in. You are already on your way. There is a particular kind of quiet that settles into a room late at night. The kind that arrives slowly, the way fog moves across a still lake. Not all at once, but in layers, each one softer than the last. The lights have dimmed. The sounds of the day have pulled back, retreating like a tide, leaving behind only the small and familiar things. Maybe the faint warmth of a mug still cooling on the nightstand. Maybe the soft weight of a blanket pulled just a little closer. Maybe the gentle pressure of a pillow, already shaped to welcome what it has held before. And here, in this room, in this quiet, something begins to happen. Slowly. Without being asked. The body starts to let go. It happens the way seasons change, not in a single moment, but through a quiet accumulation of tiny shifts, each one following the last, so naturally it is hard to say where one ends and the next begins. The heart, which spent the whole day working steadily and faithfully, begins to ease its pace, not stopping, just settling. Like a river that has been rushing through narrow stone passages all day and finally finds a wide open valley where it can spread and slow and breathe. The breath follows along. Each exhale a little longer than the last, a little more complete. The muscles, the shoulders, the jaw, the hands begin releasing a tension so familiar it was almost invisible until now. This is the body remembering something ancient. Something it has always known. Long before schedules existed, long before clocks were ever invented, the body kept its own kind of time. There is a rhythm buried deep inside, older than any habit, older than any routine. A rhythm that responds to light and darkness the way a flower responds to the sun. As the darkness deepens, the body's core temperature begins to fall just slightly. A drop so gentle it is never consciously felt, yet one the body has been performing every evening for as long as the species has existed. Warmth moves quietly outward through the limbs as heat is released. The edges of thought soften. The urgency of the day, which felt so permanent just hours ago, begins to seem very far away. Like something happening in another time, another place entirely. Somewhere in the brain, a slow and quiet process is beginning, one that science has only recently started to understand. Tiny, fluid-filled channels, barely visible even under magnification, widen almost imperceptibly in the dark. Through them, cerebrospinal fluid moves in gentle pulses, clearing away the chemical residue of a day's worth of thinking. It happens without effort and without awareness. The brain, in its own unhurried way, washing itself clean while everything else rests. Nothing needs to be understood quickly here. It is enough just to notice the weight of the body against the mattress, the slow and easy tide of the breath, and yet this stillness is only a surface. Beneath the bed, beneath the floor, beneath the foundation of the building and the layers of soil and stone that reach down for miles, the earth itself is moving, right now, silently, turning on its axis the way it has been turning for billions of years, long before there were eyes to watch it, long before there were minds to wonder about it, long before there were rooms like this one, warm and quiet and still in the late evening hours. There is something worth resting in that thought. A deep and constant presence beneath everything. The way the low vibration of a distant train sometimes travels through the floor and through the walls felt more than heard, almost below the threshold of noticing. The room, it turns out, has never been still. It only appeared that way. Stillness and motion are not opposites. They are layered one on top of the other, like the warmth of a blanket laid over cooler sheets. The body rests. The breath slows. The heartbeat finds its quiet and unhurried tempo. And below all of it, the earth continues its long, slow turning, faithfully, gently, for longer than memory itself can reach. For now, there is only the room, the warmth, the quiet, and the soft, invisible motion beneath everything. Somewhere beneath the mattress, beneath the floor, beneath the quiet neighborhood settling into its nighttime stillness, the ground is doing something extraordinary. Something it has been doing without pause, without rest, without a single moment of hesitation, for longer than any human story has ever been told. It is turning. Right now, in the dark. So smoothly, so completely, that the body lying still beneath a warm blanket feels absolutely nothing at all. This is worth sitting with for a moment, not rushing past, just letting it be there. The earth is enormous. Enormous in a way that is genuinely difficult to hold in the mind all at once. And yet this enormous thing is spinning, carrying everything on its surface, every house, every tree, every cup of warm cocoa left cooling on a nightstand, in one long, continuous arc through the dark. And no one feels it. The blanket does not shift. The water in the glass does not ripple. The air in the room remains perfectly, peacefully still. There is a reason for this. A quiet one. When something moves together, completely, uniformly, every part of it carried at once, there is nothing to feel. No friction, no resistance, no edge where the motion begins and the stillness ends. The body moves with the earth, the way a passenger in a smoothly gliding train moves with the train, without sensation, without effort, simply along for the journey. The ground beneath is not dragging or pulling. It is simply carrying. And the whole soft atmosphere drifts along too, held close by gravity, the way a scarf is held close by the shoulders it rests upon. There is something quietly counterintuitive folded inside this. The atmosphere, carried along by the spinning earth, does not move in perfect uniformity everywhere. At different latitudes, the surface beneath it moves at subtly different speeds, faster near the equator, slower toward the poles. This difference, accumulated across enormous distances, bends the paths of winds and ocean currents into long, sweeping curves. Storms rotate. Rivers, over geological time, tend to wear one bank more than the other. It is an effect so gradual, so woven into the background of everyday life, that it passes entirely unnoticed. And yet it quietly shapes the weather of every season, the texture of every sky. Gravity, meanwhile, is doing something even more patient, not just holding things down, but holding everything together. The oceans in their basins, the air in its invisible layers, the loose soil on hillsides, the frost forming slowly on a window pane. All of it kept gently in place, while the whole enormous system moves as one. Nothing left behind, nothing rattled loose. Stability on a scale almost too vast to comprehend, built silently, maintained without effort, billions of years in the making. And then, beneath all of this, there is the tilt. The Earth does not spin perfectly upright. It leans just slightly, just enough, at a quiet angle. The way a tall tree sometimes leans imperceptibly toward the light without ever falling, this lean gives the world its seasons. It is the reason mornings feel different in winter, the reason a certain slant of late afternoon light carries the feeling of autumn so specifically and completely. Every season ever felt, every harvest, every first snow, all of it traces back to this one ancient and unhurried tilt. And the tilt itself shifts, almost imperceptibly, over tens of thousands of years. A slow nod, a gentle wobble, belonging entirely to deep time, invisible within any single human life. The atmosphere drifts along through all of it, invisible and faithful, wrapped around the planet like warmth held close on a cold evening, traveling without needing to be asked. Stability, it turns out, is not the absence of motion. It is motion so complete, so perfectly shared among every particle and every surface and every breath, that it becomes indistinguishable from stillness. It feels like rest, and in a way, it is. Just also something much, much larger. There is a picture most people carry somewhere in the back of their minds, a neat, flat diagram of the solar system. The sun at the center, the planets arranged in tidy rings around it, everything orbiting in clean, predictable circles, like the face of an enormous clock. It is a comforting image, orderly and familiar. The kind of picture that makes the universe feel manageable, like something that could be drawn on paper and held in the mind all at once. But the real picture is something far more beautiful, far more strange. The sun is not standing still at the center of anything. It is moving. Right now, carrying every planet, every moon, every drifting comet and quiet asteroid along with it, the sun is traveling through the galaxy, steadily, continuously, in one long, unbroken direction through space. Not circling, not hovering. Moving forward the way a slow river moves, without hurry, without pause, through an open and darkened landscape. And as it moves, the planets move with it. The planets are still orbiting, still tracing their paths around the sun, the same way they always have. But those paths, seen from a wider perspective, are not circles at all. They are spirals. Long, looping, flowing spirals that trail behind the sun's forward motion, the way a wake trails behind a ship moving across open water. Each orbit becomes a single loop in an enormous coil, one after another, stretching back through space in a long, curving ribbon of motion. This is sometimes called the helical path, one of the quietest revisions the universe offers, arriving not with drama, but with a kind of gentle and patient correction. There is something else folded inside this motion, easy to overlook. The sun continuously exhales. A thin, invisible stream of charged particles flowing outward in all directions, filling an enormous bubble of space that surrounds the entire solar system. This stream moves along a spiral of its own, shaped by the sun's rotation, curling outward the way water from a spinning sprinkler curves as it leaves the nozzle. The planets travel inside this bubble, sheltered within it, without any sensation of its presence. Where exactly the boundary of this bubble sits, and what crosses it in either direction, remains only partially mapped. The first part of this motion, the orbit, the familiar circling, feels almost personal. The Earth completing its patient loop around the sun, the seasons turning, the mornings arriving at their slow and reliable pace. Something knowable, something close. And then the perspective opens gradually, like a window widening. The sun, carrying all of this with it, is also drifting through the galaxy, moving through regions of interstellar space filled with thin clouds of dust and gas, ancient and almost impossibly sparse. Not the kind of dust that settles on a windowsill, but something far more diffuse. Particles spread across distances so vast that the space between them is almost perfect emptiness. And yet the solar system moves through this material the way a hand moves through fog, slowly, continuously, surrounded by something barely there but present nonetheless, parting without resistance, closing again behind. One full journey around the galaxy takes an almost incomprehensible length of time, so long that the Earth has completed it only a handful of times since its formation. A single galactic year measured in hundreds of millions of ordinary ones. The solar system has passed through entirely different regions of the galaxy and returned again, drifting through varying densities of starlight and dust, each neighborhood subtly different from the last. And through all of it, from inside, there has been nothing to feel. The warm room is still warm. The blanket has not shifted. The air is exactly as quiet as it was a moment ago. The solar system is a drifting ribbon, tracing its long helix through the dark. And from inside it, lying still, wrapped in warmth, it feels like nothing is moving at all. That stillness is real. And so is everything quietly moving beneath it. The galaxy, if it could be seen all at once from some unimaginable distance, would look something like a slow, luminous spiral. Arms of light curving outward from a bright center trailing into dimmer regions, into quieter stretches of space where the stars grow sparse, and the distances between them become almost meditative in their vastness. It is a structure billions of years in the making, assembled not by any single dramatic event, but by the patient accumulation of gravity and time and the slow drift of matter across distances that carry no easy comparison. And the solar system is moving through it, quietly, without announcement. Not quickly, by any human measure of experience, not in a way that could ever be felt from inside a warm room beneath the comfortable weight of a blanket with the soft sounds of nighttime settling into the walls. But across the long, unhurried timescales the universe prefers, the solar system drifts, neighborhood to neighborhood, region to region, the way a traveler moves through different towns along a quiet road, each one subtly different from the last. The change arriving so gradually, it is only noticed long after it has already begun. The night sky seen from a backyard or an apartment window looks fixed, ancient, permanent, as if the stars have always stood exactly where they appear tonight and always will. But that sky is a single frame from an enormously long and slow film. Over millions of years, the stellar neighborhood changes. The nearby stars, those faint, steady points of light that seem so perfectly still, are themselves moving, drifting on their own long paths through the galaxy. The relationships between them shift the way the shapes of clouds shift on a long, slow afternoon, so gradually that no single moment of watching ever reveals the change. The solar system passes through varying regions as it travels. Some stretches of the galaxy are denser, filled with thin veils of interstellar dust, with the diffuse remnants of ancient stars that scattered their material outward long before the Earth existed. Some of that scattered material, the iron resting in the soil, the calcium in deep rock, was forged inside those distant stellar interiors and carried here across unimaginable distances and time, arriving long before anything was alive to receive it. Other regions are quieter, emptier, more transparent, where the light of distant stars arrives a little less filtered, a little more directly. These environments do not announce themselves. They shift the way a temperature shifts while driving through different terrain. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, noticed only in retrospect. There is a faint and still debated possibility that some of these regional changes, subtle variations in the density of interstellar dust, slow shifts in the thin background of cosmic particles drifting through space, may leave traces in Earth's deep geological record, in ancient ice, in layered rock, in the chemistry of fossils laid down across tens of millions of years. The signal, if it exists at all, is quiet almost beyond detection. Science is still listening for it, still learning to hear it clearly. The full picture remains open, still being assembled across many patient lifetimes of observation. There is something comforting in that. The idea that the universe is not yet entirely explained, that some of what moves above and around and beneath carries questions still open, still breathing, still turning slowly in the minds of those who have devoted their lives to listening for the answers. From inside the warm room, none of this registers on the skin or the breath or the slow settling weight of a body at rest. The blanket is soft. The air is still. The faint sounds of the neighborhood outside have quieted to almost nothing. A cup left cooling on the nightstand holds the last trace of its warmth. and the solar system drifts on through its long, slow passage. Through the dim and luminous neighborhoods of the galaxy, through the thin dust and the ancient light, through material that was once the interior of stars, carrying everything along without asking anything in return. Just moving, quietly, through the dark. There is a current moving through the universe. Not a current of water, not a current of wind, but something far older and far quieter, a flow of gravity so vast, so gently insistent, that entire galaxies are carried along by it. The way leaves are carried by a river so wide, the banks cannot be seen from anywhere on the surface. It does not rush, and it does not pull dramatically. It simply draws with the patient, unhurried persistence of something that has been exerting itself across hundreds of millions of light years for longer than the Earth has existed. Scientists have named the place toward which this current seems to flow the Great Attractor, a region of space so distant it sits at the very edges of what has been mapped, so massive that its gravitational presence bends the motion of everything around it. Galaxy clusters, superclusters, vast filaments of matter strung across the dark like the threads of an enormous invisible web. And the Milky Way is part of this current. Quietly, without sensation, without announcement, this galaxy, and the solar system nested inside it, and the Earth turning within the solar system, and the room, and the bed, and the warm, slow breath of a body settling into sleep, is drifting toward it, not arriving, not rushing toward any conclusion, just drifting. The way a feather drifts on a breeze so gentle the movement is barely distinguishable from stillness. There is something folded inside this that science has only recently begun to trace. The Great Attractor itself may not be the final destination of this flow. Beyond it, at distances even harder to hold in the mind, there appears to be a still larger concentration, toward which the Great Attractor and everything it draws may itself be slowly, imperceptibly leaning. A current within a current, a pull behind the pull. How far this nesting of gravitational influences extends is not yet fully known. The universe, at its largest scales, is still being quietly read. And so the motion continues, not felt, not seen, simply present the way the turning of the Earth is present, the way the slow tilt of the axis is present, the way the breath is present, moving in and out without being asked. The galaxy drifts. The solar system traces its long helix. The Earth turns beneath the floor, beneath the mattress, beneath the soft and settled weight of a body that has been moving through space all day without ever once feeling it. The room is still warm. The blanket has not shifted. Somewhere outside, the night is continuing. The same night that stretches across the whole turning planet, the same darkness that has been arriving and departing in this same rhythm for longer than memory reaches. The stars are where they always appear to be. The air is soft. The breath is slow. And the current moves on. Through the dark, through the dust, through the vast and patient quiet between galaxies. the same current that was moving before the room existed, before the city existed, before the ground beneath the floor had taken its present shape. It does not need to be felt to be real. It does not need to be understood to continue. The room holds its warmth. The breath continues. And somewhere beneath everything, beneath the mattress, beneath the floor, beneath the deep and ancient rock, the earth turns slowly in the dark, as it has always turned, as it is turning now. Welcome, my curious companions. This is SleepyWhys, a quiet corner of the internet where the day gently unwinds and ordinary wonders reveal their calmer side. I know you've been carrying the day with you, the thoughts, the conversations, the unfinished lists. You can set them down here and let the night move around you like a slow tide.